Sub-regional troops mission in the Gambia extended by 6 months. Rwanda begins judicial activities amid COVID-19 pandemic. Gambia Red Cross buries over 150 people during pandemic, 99 of them COVID-19 related deaths. This and more coming on your way on The World Today. This is Africa TV and many thanks for joining us. I am Amadou Kante and now the news in detail. Now the Economic Community of West African States, ECOWAS has extended the mandate of the peacekeeping troops in the Gambia by another 6 months. The extension comes at the back of a request by the Gambia's President Adama Barrow, who said his country's democracy is fragile and needed protection. Fatmata Fati has more details of that in this report. At the close of the 57th ECOWAS Ordinary Session in the Nigerian capital Niamey, leaders of the sub-regional bloc welcomed the political reforms undertaken by the Gambia government with a view to stabilizing the country. The authority of the ECOWAS head of states and government stated in a communique that it has decided to extend for 6 months the mandate of the ECOWAS mission in the Gambia in order to enable it to provide support to the reform of the security sector. Leaders also agreed to a gradual transformation of ECOMIC into a police mission. Meanwhile, on the political situation in the region, the summit reaffirms its determination to ensure a rapid return to constitutional order in Mali with a political transition led by a civilian president and a civilian prime minister for 2 years. The summit also requests that the president and the prime minister of the transition, both civilians, be appointed no later than September 15, 2020. On Guinea-Bissau, West African leaders welcomed the progress made with regards to the functioning of institutions, in particular the National Assembly and the government. While the bloc extends the mandate of its peacekeeping mission in the Gambia, it has decided to withdraw the ECOWAS mission in Guinea-Bissau. Leaders also reaffirmed their commitment to support the government of Guinea-Bissau in its constitutional and security sector reform. Reporting for Africa News, I am Amadou Kante. And the report was filed in there by my very self instead of the name that I mentioned earlier on. Now, joining us on the line is the EU Ambassador to the Gambia, Attila Lajos. Well, Mr. Ambassador, thank you very much for joining us. And ECOWAS leaders have commended the Gambia government security sector reform, a process the EU financed at some point. Would you say the government has made significant progress in its security reforms?
Yes, absolutely. I do believe it's important to underline that a lot of progress has been made throughout the past years in the security sector reform. And it's even more important for me to see that in spite of the COVID circumstances, on strategic level, the Honorable Minister of Justice keeps chairing the Security Sector Reform Steering Committee meetings and ensures that progress is made in spite of the challenging circumstances caused by this pandemic.
All right. For some, Gambia's security sector reform process has been slow, and you have said in the past that it is yet to yield, of course, tangible results. How important is this security reform for the country in the quest for stability and good governance?
I do believe the security sector reform is one of the cornerstones of the overall transition in the country, and I also strongly believe that without successfully completing a security sector reform, the country's transition and transformation into a real democracy cannot be complete. So it's one of the fundamental objectives of this transition.
All right, just lastly, Mr. Ambassador, now, do you think the government is on track to achieve the desired result in its security sector reform process before the 2021 presidential elections?
Well, it's certainly not up to me to see if the government is on track. I trust the heads of state, the summit, the ECOWAS summit, took into consideration all the aspects when making a prudent decision to prolong the stationing of the troops in the country for another half a year. I very much look forward to see how this extended mandate could further contribute to the progress in the reforms in the security sector. And I have no doubt that it's in the interest of both the economic forces as well as the country very much to achieve the ambitious goals set by the transition of this country.
All right, Mr. Ambassador, I said finally, but then at some point, of course, as you may know, the EU, of course, was funding the security sector reform. Is the EU committed to continue supporting the Gambia's process, in this process?
The European Union has been committed to support the Gambian transition process in general, as well as security sector reform in particular. We had various type of interventions, project support, budgetary support, etc. And indeed, on the request from the ECOWAS headquarters, the European Union also supported, financially funded the execution of the mandate of the ECOMOG troops up until end of March. Then the European Union has not from ECOWAS as yet.
All right, Ambassador Lajos, many thanks for your time.
You are certainly welcome, as always.
All right, that was the EU ambassador to the Gambia speaking to us live on the line. From that, we move on because the Gambia Red Cross Society stepped in the conduct of safe burial when people began to die of COVID-19. The volunteer group has since buried 99 people who died of the virus. Mariama Cham has more details of that in this report.
With local communities fearing infections, they have sought the help of the Gambia Red Cross to bury their loved ones, some of whom died of COVID-unrelated ailments. Now, the Red Cross has buried up to 161 people who died between March and September. 99 of these are confirmed COVID-19 cases, while 62 are either suspected cases or have died of other diseases. Modu Toure, the head of communication for the Red Cross, explains what is involved in the burial process.
So according to records, as of yesterday, we buried 161 bodies. But I've always said the 61 bodies includes both confirmed and unconfirmed cases. That is, confirmed and suspected cases are included in the burials that we have done.
COVID-19 related deaths have reduced in recent days, easing the work of the Red Cross burial team, which conducted up to 10 burials a day in July and August.
Past 4 or 5 days, we register a decrease in the amount of deaths that we have been buried, because there was a point around mid-August, beginning of August, end of July, beginning August, up to the mid of August, we were burying almost 10 to 11 bodies per day, and then that went up to around the 20th to 21st of August. But since then to date, we have been recording lesser numbers. We have been recording 4, 3, sometimes 2, sometimes 1. But then we also doing community pickups. Bodies that are that are found dead in the communities, either in their homes or on the street. We are normally contacted to go and do the pickups.
The Gambia Red Cross Society plays a very crucial role in the fight against the COVID-19 pandemic by not only providing safe burials but also helping vulnerable families with food and creating awareness. iAfrica News, Mariama Cham.
The Gambia Red Cross Society helps to coordinate COVID-19 burials in the country. I'm from that report next to Rwanda because Rwanda has commenced its new judicial year for 2020 and 2021 on Monday, despite the country's struggle with the COVID-19 pandemic, which has affected different sectors of life, including the court system. President Paul Kagame has urged the judiciary to be exemplary and upright in their line of work. Court cases in Rwanda during this pandemic have risen by 5% compared to the previous judicial year. In the past year, technology helped people in sending their cases to the court, and now the court system is planning to use technology in this new judicial year to tackle all crimes sent to the system before the courts or country's court. Here's more details of that in this report.
New judicial year begins as COVID-19 continues to sectors, not least of all the country's court system. And even though the number of cases ruled on during the 2019-2020 judicial year went up by 5% compared to its predecessor, the pandemic made sure that the load of pending cases did not reduce as desired. Nevertheless, technology helped to address some of the challenges presented by the global pandemic. It became necessary for strategies to be adopted so that the work of dispensing justice does not grind to a halt. Even though technology was being used before, during the judicial year, we concluded it helped people submit their cases, information, and even have their day in court. At the time when we were under a total lockdown because of the COVID-19 pandemic, more than 14,675 cases were submitted through our system, and more than 2,000 cases were heard in court using technology. In general, during the 2019-2020 judicial year, 75,188 cases were submitted into Rwanda's court system, 24% to do with provisional detentions and bail requests. Worryingly, criminal suits reached 64% at 48,303 compared to 59% in the previous judicial year. The country's National Public Prosecution Authority received 53,959 dossiers, an increase of 19% compared to 2018-2019. Regardless of the challenges the justice sector may face, certain standards must be upheld. Rwandans have confidence that people working in the justice sector have integrity and will never stop asking that they be people without reproach. We must therefore remain a strong pillar when it comes to fighting corruption and not be its source. This must be the basis of the sector's operations in order to erase all suspicions or perceptions that Rwandans do not get what is meant for them and what is proper. The National Public Prosecution Authority has a 93% winning record in court and is looking to further increase its efficiency. Among the strategies is improving how we investigate crimes committed and how dossiers are prepared, capacity building in the investigation and prosecution of crimes, boosting of the use of technology in the investigation of crimes, preparation of dossiers, and the presentation of cases in court. More effort is also going to be made to better monitor the process of the way dossiers are prepared within the authority itself and the conduct of its employees, and those found with misconduct or having committed crimes punished according to the law. The country's head of state also reminded all concerned institutions not to lose sight of the broader picture when it comes to justice and stressed that all criminals, regardless of where they may be, should be prepared to face justice. The justice sector has expanded, and that is good. However, even though the institutions in each have their own responsibilities, they must tend to. Proper coordination and a common vision are necessary so that you do not lose sight of the broader picture when it comes to justice. The most important thing is to continue giving the people a sort of quality justice that has a strong foundation that they have confidence in. Those who committed crimes that had repercussions in our history, as well as other crimes of any sort, justice will find them wherever they may be. The trial and sentencing of such criminals is your responsibility, and I am confident that you have the capacity to make the proper rulings. Apart from the more than 7,000 court rulings made in the last judicial year, close to 900 were settled outside the courtroom before they actually went to trial.
Rwandan judiciary there resumed business amidst the impact of the COVID-19 pandemic. And from that report there, we will now take a break and come back shortly with the remaining of the story. Stay with us, we'll be right back. Welcome back, and you are watching the World Today News Bulletin on Africa TV. And now to the rest of the stories. And now to the latest COVID-19 update. Now, the Gambia has on Tuesday recorded 79 new cases, taking the total number of confirmed COVID-19 cases to 3,275. The ages of the new cases are between 0 and 73 years. With 100 new recoveries, the country currently has 1,424 recoveries from the virus, whereas 38 people were newly taken into quarantine. 45 new discharges were made, according to the Minister of Health. The Gambia currently has 1,752 active cases, 0 new deaths, 122 people in quarantine, and 399 probable cases. The total number of deaths remain at 99. And from the report on the situation of the COVID-19 in the Gambia, of course, we would move on to our next story, because the United Nations will open its 75th General Assembly virtual with member states summit pre-recorded statement. Well, thanks to the COVID-19 pandemic. Here's more details of that in this report by Mariama Cham.
Member states will be represented in the halls of the General Assembly by their representatives at the United Nations. The theme for this year's event, beginning on September 15th, is "The Future We Want, the UN We Need, reaffirming our collective commitment to multilateralism." The UN will also mark its 75th anniversary with a one-day high-level meeting on September 21st, and the high-level general debate will begin on September 22nd, during which pre-recorded statements from world leaders will be aired. With the COVID-19 pandemic, the General Assembly will rely on the silence procedure to adopt a number of decisions. Additional events expected to take place at the 75th General Assembly include a biodiversity summit and a high-level meeting celebrating the 25th anniversary of the 1995 Fourth World Conference on Women, the Beijing Plus 25. iAfrica News, Mariama Cham.
And from the report by Mariam Cham, finally to Egypt and on some sporting-related matters, because the Egyptian Football Association has launched an investigation into the disappearances of several trophies, including the 2010 Africa Cup Nations trophy, awarded to the Pharaohs after winning the tournament 3 times in a row. The football authorities are trying to establish whether these trophies were lost in the fire that occurred in the association's building in 2013, or whether they were looted. Football fans, who are known as ultras, set the federation's headquarters on fire in 2013 as they protest court verdicts related to a soccer riot in 2012 in which more than 70 fans were killed. Here's more details of that in this report.
The Egyptian Football Association's headquarters usually hosts public displays of Title won over the decades. Trophies won by the Egyptian national team decorate its entrance for all visitors to witness the Pharaoh's past glories. But as the current interim board was preparing for a new museum-like display, it realized that many trophies were missing.
The Egyptian Football Association has launched an investigation into the disappearance of a number of its old trophies it has won over its history. The investigation will also register all other belongings the association currently has. We will look into whether these trophies were lost in the fire that torched the building in 2013. We've also lost many of the association's important documents from the past decades.
The 2013 EFA fire was huge. It is possible that the trophies were destroyed in the fire. It is also possible that some have been looted, or some national team players kept some for safekeeping. The problem is that you see chaos at the EFA. There should be registries with all the belongings and a list of what is missing throughout these years. For the EFA to be surprised, that is shocking.
The EFA didn't reveal a detailed list of the missing items. However, a gift from CAF, a replica of the Africa Cup of Nations trophy, is among those missing, as well as other trophies, medals and even documents.
It is not a great financial loss. The trophies are replicas, not the originals. But it's definitely a great loss to the football heritage of a great African team like Egypt. I think this whole issue does not help the reputation of the EFA. It's already brought about some negativity. I just hope the EFA will give us answers soon so this whole scandal can be contained.
Still, no board member since has taken the initiative to register Egypt's football heritage and belongings.
At least 5 different boards have managed the EFA since 2013. So the investigation involves a lot of people, and it's unlikely the Egyptian Football Association will have any answers soon.
The Egyptian Football Federation or Association, of course, to investigate lost titles, including one of the trophies won by the country's national team. And from the report in Cairo, Egypt, we eventually bring this news bulletin to an end. But for more details on this and other stories, you can log on our website on africa.tv. But you can also join Sahna Tunkra at 19:30 GMT or 7:30 local time for the Gambia 24's news bulletin. But for now, many thanks for the pleasure of your company. Thanks for watching. Stay safe and bye for now.